and you made me cry. We were falling in love. Good evening, everybody. Good afternoon. Good morning, depending on where in the world you are. This is Ocean Heart, the one and only. There's a lot to talk about. I feel like crap today. This is one hell of a summer cold, folks. It feels like a full-blown cold when you're deep into the heartbeat of winter. Head hurt, sinus drainage, nose bolting up. It's crazy. I have come to the conclusion that after living here in Augusta, I've become somewhat superstitious. August/September, every year without fail, something big and horrible has happened. When I started working in transportation, it was two people in management harassing me. I called them Heckle and Jekyll. It was COVID. It was vertigo. It was losing my job last year. And so after several years of this, I started to go, great, August and September is coming. What shoe's going to drop today? And we're not supposed to live our lives like that, but we are trained by our circumstances. And now this stupid cold. And it angers me. It's like one thing after another. You try to get ahead. This breaks, that goes, that fails, the car quits, whatever. And I'm going to talk real today. I'm going to talk about what's going on at my job. And to the clowns that get on here and says, he talks about everybody. Yep, even myself and you. So sit down, pull up a toilet, and shut it. There's always a risk that one takes in an American society to be transparent and vulnerable. Watch our commercials, watch corporate America, go to church on Sunday morning. We're not taught, it's not reinforced to us to be real and genuine. We are taught to be disingenuous. We are taught to play a game. We are taught to say, I'm doing well. We have that corporate talk, and I'm not one of those people. So if you're into that fakey, flaky, superficial, dumb ASS world, please get off my channel. But we're going to start with a little consternation. I'm getting complaints from people, names withheld, complaining about my moderators, saying that they're just blocking and they're doing this. And somebody did a video. I haven't seen the video. I was told that there was a video where somebody's complaining about the moderators on my channel. Number one, people get upset when they're not chosen as a moderator. I try to choose moderators carefully, and I also do it with some counsel. We have a lot of good moderators in chat. Two of them that were stellar. One hardly comes, and the other's busy with his work life, and they're not there. One, I had to de-wrench because, and I'm going to be very honest, she didn't like it that I was talking about, as she says, her people. And I informed her, if your people are the people I work with and deal with in Augusta, then you might want to claim that you're related to them. And I'm not going to be censored on my own channel. I talk about everything. I had a woman go round and round, chilling, whatever the heck it was, Janelle. And this is what I talk about. I cannot believe the crazy inability. She said, I'm creepy. Looks like a dude, got the ball cap on, got the face all screwed up. And the video was music with the B word and the F word, and she's going like this, and I'm going, oh, okay. And she's telling me I'm deceived about my views of the Bible and the rapture. Okay, that's a credible woman. She looks like somebody that would sit down with C.S. Lewis and J.R. Tolkien or theologians and have a deep conversation, right? Absolutely not. And these are the kind of people that judge me. And then you got Andrew running loose like a cannonball rolling around on a ship, and everybody's watching their ankles so they don't get hit by it. It's ridiculous. And I've known for years that I'm hitting it right by the fact that there's so much attack. And what am I doing on my channel? What am I doing that's so wrong? Am I encouraging riots and violence and tearing up society? Do I do drugs? No. I tell the truth. This is the world we live in today. Truth is not popular. When people want to hide in darkness, don't you dare shine the light on it. That was the mentality of Al Capone and the mafia. That's the mentality of the Democrats. They don't want their sins. They don't want to be found out, even though they're telling everybody else and projecting that everybody else is wrong. They have TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, and people hear me say that and say, oh, this guy defends Trump. I don't defend Trump, but I'll tell you what, I don't defend your TDS either. You guys were silent about the cumulative and collective damage that these liberal POS presidents, Biden, Clinton, and Obama, and then you were that close to voting in the craziest, screwiest woman in the history of the United States, Kamala Harris. I mean, you can say what you want, but no intelligent, rational mind would have voted for Kamala Harris. Word salad queen. And I would say that to her face. What I say here, I'm not afraid. Kamala Harris is not a leader. She's good at doing oral with Mr. Brown. That's it. And when you look at her face and you look at how dippy she is, it's amazing she got through law school. You know, I'm sorry. Some people need to stick to their day job, and you can tell by looking at her, she'd probably be very good at oral. Just saying. Just my opinion. And these are the kind of people we put in politics. These are the kind of people that we elect. And you watch what's happening in the world. I was shocked when two, now, one from Australia, one from the UK, sent me videos showing the migrants swarming in the thousands, swimming up the beaches and just storming Spain. These people aren't coming with good intentions. And people are saying, oh, it's racism to say anything. They're not migrants, they're illegals. And that's another thing I'm tired of, is this stupid media is not held accountable. I look at these dippy reporters in the U.S. and just they're all exactly the same. They're cut out of the same cookie dough. That's right. They hold their hands just right. They wear the little peekaboo ugly shoulder outfits, and they got the weird hair and glopped on makeup, and they all act the same, and they all look at each other and they're smiling as they're telling bad news. I mean, what a job. They don't work hard. That is not a job. It's acting. I go to a warehouse, and I'm going to talk about it because yesterday I was getting explosive angry. I don't feel good. And I pride myself that as long as I get my carcass up, I'm going to work. When I came out here, people, it's really shifted. I had a high school girl who was not on my bus for a long time. A white girl never gave me a hard time. She's like, oh, I'm so glad you're driving our bus. I had several students tell me that in one of the roughest areas of town. And she was gone. I said, hey, you're back. Yeah, I need to take a mental health break from school sometimes. And I'm not going to be rude. I'm like, a mental health break? You got to be kidding me. Why? We call that ditching. And I didn't ditch. If I'd have ditched school, my dad would have plowed into my bottom. That's a fact. I'm in the kitchen this morning because I'm making tea. I woke up this morning, and I'll tell you what, my head feels like it's been run over by a truck. And I'm going to go to work today because I'm capable. It's a cold. It's an inconvenience, and it sucks. and I don't get sick days until I've worked there a year. And I want to talk about our management. I want to talk about things. I want to say that, number one, I appreciate that God is taking care of me. But sometimes I get mad. I'm like, wow, God, why do I got to go through this by believers? So I'm going to lay out some story here. It's interesting when you're going through stuff, you learn to find allies. You know, I've had to learn that I'm alone and nobody's got my back. There's a gentleman at work that I have respect for, and he's not white. He carries himself fairly well. And I've bent my ear to him a couple times, and I went in before I punched in, and I said, you know what? I'm getting tired of some of this stuff. He said, Mike, what you need to learn to do, he said, what you're doing is right. He said, you're staying in your lane, you work hard. He said, but look, they hire people on parole. They hire people that just got out of jail. He said they hire older people like us. He said they have no interest in giving us a raise. That's how they run the company. And they do a free lunch every Wednesday at the office. They usually go to the local area fast foods. I am one of the hardest working people there. I must say it. I'm not the only one, but I'm one of the hardest working people there. Never once has management or leadership or the woman who goes and gets food said, you know, Mike works his butt off. Why don't we get him something he can eat? Doesn't even enter their radar. So I go to the lunch because they have a preacher, different one every Wednesday. And I like to hear the word of God. We had a black gentleman come in that's been doing outreach in Ghana. And he come back from a mission trip when Ebola's running loose over there. And I want to hear people like that. I know I'm a child of God because I want to hear my brothers coming from distant countries talking about what's going on over there. I want to hear them talk about the word. I have my faults. I have a problem with lust. I have a problem with profanity. And I'm not perfect. But I love hearing the truth. And I like listening to missionaries, and I like listening to other preachers that tell the truth. I know I'm a child of God, because if you're not a child of God, you're not going to be comfortable with that. But our company operates off the premise that they want to expose people to the gospel, and that's good. Nobody's forced to come to the lunch. And they provide the free lunch, kind of like a mission does. We'll give them food, but we'll make them hear the gospel. You know, it's kind of I don't want to say bait and switch, but it's a catch-all. And that's good. At least in my workplace. They're not violating any rules. You do not have to come to that lunch. Your lunch hour, you clock out. But they show up. And they show up. And most of the people that work with me are poor. And they want the free food. And at least they're hearing truth. But our company uses that. They had an ice cream truck pull up in the lot one day. One of the other guys looked at me and he smiled because it had all these fruity colors and everything. I said, I don't know. And one of the owners, you know, he comes up, Mike, you gonna get something? I said, oh, I didn't know. I said, I can't eat any of that. Okay. You know, that's nice. He did something nice, hot summer day, it was a Friday, and he bought everybody an icy and an ice cream. Cool. The other day, a couple women showed up at the lunch. I can tell I live in a very different world than they do. Women were attractive, You could tell by looking at them that they've never experienced the raw realities that most of us down here in blue collar have. You could just tell. The wives, the children, and a colleague with his wife were standing all outside the bay door when I was running the stand-up lift. I'm backing up. I'm like, whoa, there's a whole bunch of people right there. Got off, I looked at him, I said, hi. Zombies all. And I'm going to say something. These are rich Christians. Homeschool their kids. They've had the bubble life. And we need to talk about that. My boss worked in law enforcement for years. The president is young. He's younger than both of them. There's 3 owners. The one went to Bible college, and then he did computer programming, and his daughter's now working in there. You have to understand that from my perspective, when people say they're raised in Christian homes, I expect things to be different. I expect young women and wives, good morning, Michael. Good morning. How are you? I expect that. I use a term from nautical era. Look alive, mate. My grandpa used to say that. Look alive, mate. That's why you need to get up in the morning and pull your pants on. Bathrobe people, pajama people, not the kind of folks for me. I know. I say this wearing this. I do this for several reasons. Society sucks. And I finally do what I want to do because I'm like, you know what? It doesn't matter what I do. People are going to hate me. I can wear a suit and tie, all that. People are still going to treat me the way they treat me. So I do this because I'm amazed at how many people this draws out onto the internet to say, man, look at this guy. That's mostly men. Or women that are legends in their own mind and think they're all that in a bag of chips. I've learned about the psychology of people. But I didn't feel well yesterday. By rights, I would have had every right to say, I'm not going to be there, I'm sick. Problem is, it hurts me. That's 1 day less pay. My air conditioner's been acting up twice. $600 one time, $375 the next. The house insurance is coming up in January. Truck insurance come up in January. The taxes come up in October. And I'm getting tired of the injustice of life. They're raising the taxes on my house while all around me is blight. You know, and I'm like, the code and enforcement is avoiding certain homes in the neighborhood that are the biggest offenders. And I had made that clear to the city. I said, you're raising my taxes, but our real estate values are not going to go up with this blight. And I voted in a black woman running for commissioner. I don't know if she got it or not. Running against an incumbent guy that isn't doing anything. She said, I will deal with blight. I will deal with the drug dealers and neighborhood issues. I'm like, you got my vote. My life is not Dream Street. It's hard. And I'm not the only one. But I go to work yesterday, and a couple things transpired. And it really bothers me. I know I have the Holy Spirit. I know I have the Spirit. Because if I didn't, yesterday, I probably would have walked through the place and said, bye! That was the mood I was in yesterday. Michael, you're a Christian. Yeah, and I get mad too. Welcome to Reality 101. I've had to learn the hard way. So when I worked in transportation, every place I worked is dominated by women. I used to be so proud to drive a school bus. I love driving a yellow school bus. I was all into that. Used to drive a couple bus rodeos at the end of the year. I like to talk about buses and the different engines and this and that. That's all washed through me now. Done it, bought the t-shirt. I will always look at a yellow school bus going down the road. It's iconic. When you see the yellow school bus, it's America, it's apple pie. But my view of it has been tainted. Coming out here to this county and watching these kids out of control, watching our society implode and explode all around us. These kids are rude ASS out here. They will walk up within an inch of my face and say, you mother, boom, threaten me. And the district does nothing. Just to pick up brats to take to a public school where all they care about is the head count because of the tax monies per student, per day. It's all about the money. They don't care if these kids pass or fail. Just bring them to school. It is the largest taxpayer-funded daycare in this country. And what are they teaching these kids today? What sex am I? It's okay to be gay. It's okay to be Islam. It's okay to be an atheist. But don't you dare talk about the Bible. What is with the Bible and the hatred for the Bible? Has anybody read it that hates it so much? Talks about love, joy, peace, gentleness, kindness, self-control. Why is society against that? The guy I work with, who's bragging to me, I mean, no shame. Yeah, I got it on last night. I said, with number who now? And he told me, I just want a woman who follows the 10 Commandments. And I shook my head. I said, no. He goes, what do you mean? I said, nobody follows the 10 Commandments. Oh, yes, sir. I said, nobody follows the 10 Commandments. Well, I do. I said, no, you don't. And I didn't look him right in the eye. I've learned something with talking with the people here. I looked down at the paperwork. I said, no, you don't. I said, you've told me you've had sex how many times since I've worked here before marriage? He got real quiet. He goes, you're right, I'm guilty. So I had a witnessing moment yesterday. I said, you don't. I said, and that's why I need Jesus Christ, because we can't follow the law and be saved. I don't care. And I said it. I didn't feel good. I hate colds. Colds are a special kind of demonic. There's certain things I don't like. I do not like cleaning ovens. Remember when you used to have to spray that oven crap in there? I don't even use my oven to heat up this house so much. Plus gas, the gas is cheap, but they charge a pass-through charge that is massively higher than gas usage. Good old Atlanta. While the corporate execs are riding in style, I tell you what, the utility companies aren't your friends, the IRS isn't your friends, our government is not your friends, and then you go to church on Sunday morning, and you're ignored, and you're sidelined. And, it's amazing to me the level of arrogance in our society with people that you just look at them and you step outside me and you go, this woman actually thinks she's cool beans. Overweight, ugly clothing, laughing at dumb stuff. And she just, every time, any prayer request, yeah, I want to pray for my weird neighbor. I'm like, weird neighbor? You are weird. This South down here has no sense of self-awareness. Oh my gosh, if any part of the country I've lived in, this place has no self-awareness. I don't care if people are offended by the way I'm dressed. This is a nothing burger. I mean, I live a life. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I don't run Ponzi schemes. I don't have women trafficking into my house and screwing this one and that one. I don't have Mambo number 5 going on. And I've had to live with so much guilt from an abusive mother. I've had to live with guilt. So, yeah, let's go to work. Now, let's talk about some of the things that are on the news. I'm going to drink this hot piping tea and knock this stuff. That's hot. Peppermint tea, baby. I self-do things. If it was winter, I would come home, fill that bath with hot water, and just sit down in there and get hot as I could stand it. You're not going to do a hot bath when it's 90 degrees outside. Anyways, go to work, don't feel good, and I've got projects, I've got orders to pack, I've got big orders to pack, put labels on a heater motor, take them out of the bubble wrap, put the voltage stickers on it, pack it back up, put a label sticker on the box, get a giant box, seat them all in there, pack it up, cut the box down, seal it up, put a lid on it, band it to the pallet, get the forklift, weigh it, dimensions, not to mention the regular pick tickets of running here, there, and everywhere. And we got certain salesmen, they will sell something that's obscure. They got one left in the whole place. And you go digging and you can't find it. The owners of this place, the original owners, both in their 70s, and they're both millionaires. 800 acres of property. I mean, they've got money. And the one guy, both of them, they're old. I mean, they're 77 and they're still selling, still working there. Me, I don't understand that. If I was a millionaire, I'd be gone. I wouldn't work doing this at all. But they do sit in air-conditioned comfort. And I have been respectful to everybody. I wanted to believe because these are Christians, they're better. And in some ways, Christ makes the difference. I appreciate the fact that as a company, they give people that got out of the criminal justice system a chance. That's what Jesus would have us to do, right? I'm going to tell you something happened to me on my way to work the other day. Drive out of the neighborhood and there's a cop. White guy, lives in the neighborhood. Don't know him. Yard's tidy, cars are in good shape. And I turned, went, and there's a woman standing in the middle of, there's a stop sign, and she's standing right in the middle. I'm like, what is, and I took one look at her, white woman, I thought, oh boy. And she's all pointing at me, and I went, come on, move, I need to make a left. I pull up and she crowds up with the truck. Well, you can't be aggressive and do things with somebody that close to your truck. I cracked the window and said, what do you need, ma'am? She goes, I need help. I said, I can't help you. I'm going to work to make money. You don't got any money? I said, driver carries no cash, ma'am. I got to go. I got to have you move. I don't need to be late for work. And there's a car behind me. I don't know if he's a detective or what. And he's going like this, shaking his finger because she starts heading to him. I look up, and when I go, I go. And it's a highway, and it's busy. Turn left, go into the center lane. And I got my right signal on because traffic. This law enforcement officer pulls out and just as I'm trying to move, just cuts around me all the way to the right. Does not do driver call, does not do proper lane change, nothing. And I laid on the horn. Now you are law enforcement. You see I'm trying to get over because I got to turn the next intersection to go down the street and I got to get my butt over. This is the world we live in. Nobody gives a crap about us. Not even the cops. And I'm amazed out here, and I don't care where you go in this country. I'm getting an attitude towards the police. They don't know how to frickin' drive. They do not know how to drive a motor vehicle. They don't use their turn signals. They don't know the posted speed limit, and then they're doing, I was going to leave a note. Say, wow, you know, you're in law enforcement and you're doing this? We live in the same neighborhood, bro. What's your problem? Unbelievable. But I didn't. I'm not going to let her campaign that. And I don't feel good. And when you don't feel good, things are magnified. So I go to work with intent to work. And I'm like, you know what? The devil is just, when you're not feeling good. On Wednesday, we had a preacher from Ghana. He said, I don't think that people realize that the devil doesn't take a lunch hour. He doesn't take weekends. His sole purpose is to destroy you and devour you. People that don't believe in the Bible and don't believe in God, they laugh at that. The devil is not your friend. AC/DC said, well, when we get to hell, we're going to have a party. No, you're not. There'll be no guitars. There'll be no stage. There'll be no drinks. There'll be no pretty women. You, everybody that denies Christ, is going to be in total isolation, in eternal punishment, weeping and gnashing of teeth, where the worm dieth not, in the lake of fire. Only fools mock that. Only fools deny that. Hell is real and it's coming. Heaven is real and it's coming. And the beautiful thing is you get to make the choice whether you're going to take smoking or non-smoking for eternity. And so I go to work, and the first foot drop is I got a order done overseas, and that necessitates special instructions. I got to take the items that I pull, weigh them on a scale. We got little scales and we got big freight scales. Write down the weight, write down the country it was made because of tariffs and everything. And I have to then write the dimensions of the box or pallet that it's on. And when I get done with that, I hand that to the owner. We have a couple of shipping clerks. One handles freight via pallet US, the other one handles freight via pallet worldwide. He looks it over and says, thanks, Mike. I walk out the door. He comes out, and you ever notice, and I'm going to talk about Caucasian men. They've done this to me all my life. I don't carry myself polished. He hates this. One day I came up with a time clock, he's looking out the window and he goes like this. And I opened the door and I very calmly said, I'll tell you what, you give me a generous raise, I'll cut my hair. Well, I was just saying, aren't you hot with that hair? I said, I already know you don't like my hair. I said, you know what? My hair is immaterial to what I do. In the South, can I say something, y'all Southerners down here? My report on you, you suck. You're all worried about long hair. You're all worried about image. And let me get into the real heart of things, okay? You don't pay jack down here. I'm worth a lot more per hour, and I'm not full of myself. I do the work of 3 or more people. And if I was to cruise on out the door, there's a supervisor that would have to take it all up. And he comes out, he said, got a discrepancy. I said, what's that? Well, you said this is 4.1 pounds, but it says 0.21 ounces. And he said, that isn't adding up. I said, the salesman weighed that item and wrote it down. And then he chuckled and he says, there we go, the blame game. I said, didn't you say you were a detective? If you look at his writing, you can tell my writing, it's sloppy. I said, that's not my writing. And then he started walking around, wasn't me, being rude about it. I said, don't I take ownership when I make a mistake? And he thought it was funny, kept on. I said, and then I said, do you want me to go get the item? Because I know where it is, instead of cutting open the box. And he looked at me very arrogantly and he says, my time is valuable to me, Mike. I don't got time for that. Ooh. Everything in me said, well, Lottie effing da. You think that I want to be here doing your bull crap so you can get another $1 million? You think I really want to do this? I do this because I got bills to pay. I do this because I need a job. I don't enjoy coming in here. This is a job. And man has to work by the sweat of his brow. I get that. But excuse me, my time is valuable too. And I'm working for you. How patronizing. How shitty. But I didn't address it. Because, unfortunately, even deep down inside, you have to bite your tongue. If you offend an ego, you're in trouble. Doesn't matter if they're a Christian or not. They've got the power to be the Lord of your universe over a job. My supervisor, most of the time I came up to him, I said, I can't find these 2 items. You say this needs to go out today. I said, we're out of these. And he started to tell me something, and I accidentally cut him off. I said, this one, we're totally out. And he, in front of everybody, says, you're not even going to listen to me, are you? You don't hear what you want to hear. I said, excuse me, I'm sorry. I don't feel well, and I'm trying to focus. And I don't know if you heard that there's 2 items missing. And the guy I worked with laughed and thought it was funny. The boss said that. I thought, oh, okay. I said, you don't have to be a smarty about it. And that's poor leadership. You got something to say to me, take it aside. But here's why I'm going to personalize it. He'll never do that to the black people working there. He will dance and tiptoe around the tulips with them. A guy was sitting on his butt in another warehouse. A salesperson and another person from the department went down to that warehouse to get something. They came back and said, we don't know what he's doing. He's sitting in front of the fan every time we go down there. And I saw it too. I didn't snitch because I'm the philosophy, I ain't going to turn this stuff in. That's not my job to police these people. And everybody has said it. Management does not want to be sued. They don't want to be guilty of racism. So they'll step around eggshells. I've never seen my supervisor talk rude to any of them, but he's chipped and chopped. And it sucks when you're a Christian and the shit falls on you. By rights, I could have called out, but it hurts me. They evaluate you on perfect attendance. And I had a discussion with the shipping clerk the other day. He said they've changed the way they're doing these evals. There's a bunch of stuff at it. I said, I know. You know why they're doing that, right? Because they've created a matrix where if we don't get it perfect, we'll get less of the bonus. We won't get as much of a raise. And he goes, there you go. You're getting it. I said, I got it. It's all the game that they play. Well, Mike, you haven't reached the performance level yet. Not one person in there has. And I'm one of the best workers because I'm not a Southern boy. And you are paying me less than $17 an hour to work my ass off. And my position is integral to making money. Everybody's important, but even my supervisor said, you're ground zero. You're the one that has to get this out. And he's even said, I've been pulling for you. And that same owner with his arrogance, and he even admitted to me months ago, he made some smart-ass remark, and I didn't hear it all. I just wanted to apologize. You know, my wife has told me that I can be rude, and I wasn't trying to be demeaning. I said, well, I don't even know what you said, so I thank you for the apology. But he does look down his nose at others. People that are in law enforcement tend to do that. We've all talked about arrogant cops. When you're in law enforcement and you see bad society, it does do something to you. When I drove a school bus It changed the way I viewed drivers on the road. I feel that most people get in their car are complete freaking idiots. As a driver, I saw no turn signals, no caution, grown women with kids in the car, and Christian stickers and Republican or Democrat stickers blow through my stop sign. And I'm like, wow, it really doesn't matter what people believe, they drive like crap. I had a pickup pass me every day in Denver and said boobies are for chicks. And she had rainbows all over the back of her Ford. Wow. Jeez. Then I saw bumper stickers in Denver, never date a pro-life man. Wow, the hatred and rebellion against God's ways are really becoming in vogue today. And there was a thing on ABC. ABC, by the way, stands for all bullcrap. They had a report saying that there's now female sex robots governed by AI and men are going to them. And one of the frumpy dumpy reporters was assigned to go to this business that makes them, and she goes, I really have an uncomfortable story I have to report. And I wrote a comment on that YouTube channel. I said, you know why this is happening, right? I said, slender, attractive women are just boycotting us. I said, feminism has changed the culture of women. We don't earn enough, or don't have the right clothing, or the right house, or the right car. And I said, and men are going to this. I said, no matter, I haven't dated in 8 years now. I said, I will never get a sex robot. That doesn't do it for me. You know, sexual toys. I've never used them. I don't like them. I don't want them. And I've noticed that, excuse me, our society is moving away from values in every sense of the word. The Bible says the Antichrist, when he comes, will change the times and the seasons. Is that even possible? He'll be endowed with supernatural power. God will allow him to be infected by Satan. He'll be able to perform miracles. He's called Antichrist. Remember what the Bible says about Satan? The devil transforms himself into an angel of light. The Antichrist is Satan having his Messiah, copying God. And this Messiah is going to show up. Did you see the thousands showing up on the beaches in Spain, coming from Morocco and swimming over? Did you see that? It's an invasion, and it's all men. This world leader is going to deceive the masses of society on a global level. And I'm telling you that things are fracturing at every level. There's been a very significant increase in earthquakes. Japan had a 7.1, then a 6.7, and they showed a mall. I don't know what happened, but when the shaking happened, an explosion just blew part of the mall open. Like, what the heck exploded? I don't know what the death toll count was, but Venezuela, that place was tore up. And it was interesting to see the difference between Venezuela and Japan. They showed CCTV cams all over, and the cam's going like this, but I'm watching the buildings. No dust, nothing's falling. Japan is number one in earthquake technology and building buildings that don't collapse. And then you look at USA smartasses on the internet. They showed a closed circuit TV in a woman's house, Japanese woman sitting there in the shaking, and and he says, wow, I can't believe somebody doesn't try to go underneath something. I said, it's because it's Japan and they know the building is going to collapse. I almost said, dumbass. What is it about our country that we manufacture more rude people? Well, let's see. They grew up on South Park, Beavis and Butthead, The Simpsons, Roseanne, and people pride themselves in being rude. a grown woman going to get on here and criticize that I'm wearing women's clothes and she got a ball cap on and she looks like one of the guys. Okay, that's comical. But I go to work. That's my last place. That's my strength. I'm not a perfect Christian. I'm not a perfect anything. And I go to work and I give my all. And what difference does it make? He pulls up in his $80,000 Denali. I tell you what, if you want to talk about how retarded our society is, I'm going to lay it out there. You go buy a pickup truck today, they're not a truck anymore. The tailgate back is this high. And they got a plastic bumper with a notch step for sissies. And they got side pockets on the Rams where the top of the side of the bed opens and the top part of the tailgate bends in half. And a Toto truck covers. I'm like, this isn't a truck. This is a sissy toy. Leather seats with backup cameras. You get in there, bing, bing, bing. This is gay. And one guy pulls up at work in an 80s model Chevy truck. Still has a throaty, the smaller V8 that Chevy made. And it's solid steel. You cannot just walk in and buy a new pickup today. The price is ridiculous. And you don't get an 8-foot bed. You got all this stupid cab. What am I going to do with a 4-door pickup? I'm by myself. And our society is moving in on a pincher's grip. California, they're trying to make bullets with an expiration date. They're making products with an expiration date. They're making parts with an expiration date that go in your car. Okay, I got my problems, but you are never going to see me doing this with a sex doll. I ain't going that far. Life is cheap. And if you think I could just go down and say, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? You're a Christian. And you know how to make me feel like a zero real fast. I'm sick, I don't feel good, but I put this place over my health. Because I know it'll put you guys in a bind. But I also do it for my paycheck. And he told me the other day when these women were walking around, they were interior home decorators or designers. They don't actually do the work. You can tell by looking at them, they don't get their fingernails dirty. And I said out loud in front of one of the leadership, I said, I have failed. He goes, how's that? I said, I ended up here. You really feel that way? I said, absolutely. I'm 60 years old and this is the best I can do. I'm a failure. She works hard for the money. You better treat her right. I work hard for the money. You better treat him right. And your own management, he made a comment months ago. I was getting swamped with orders. I said, man, I wish I could replicate myself. And the one guy said, man, if there's 2 of you, I'm quitting. I said, really? And the owner said, I couldn't handle 2 of you. I said, look at all the work I do. If there were 2 of us, I understand that. And I texted my supervisor because I could. I said, that mofo had better back the F up because that hurt. He said something to him. I got called into the break room and he said, I just wanted to clarify. I wasn't trying to hurt you. You're a brother in Christ and I care. I value you as an employee. But he said, let me ask you something. That sun out there, it's hot, right? I said, yeah. He said, could you handle 2 of them shining down on you? I said, no. He said, that's what I meant. I said, boss, I'm not wired like you. And you're treating that like it's a flaw. and I do take that personally. I said, it comes with the territory. You want somebody that's like you, wears a suit and tie and is calm and cool and collective, you're not going to get the work done. They're not going to get their suit dirty. And this is what's wrong with society, is they think you're a useless part. Even though you throw that part away, all the gearing goes. And that is the problem with the workplace in America. It is a caste system. And I'm tired of it. And I'm not giving you BS. I'd never get voted into office. Never. Anywhere. They're ruthless out there. But I would be for blue-collar America and say, I am sick and tired of hearing people talk about the middle class, the unions, the teachers, the cops. What about the working ants? Where's the passion? Where's the conviction? Where's the difference? You keep us down on purpose. And you inherited that company from your dad, not because of any other reason but by birth. Oh, it gets deeper. I had a discussion with the other guy early yesterday morning. He says, well, Michael, said I was out in the neighboring town after work and I had my uniform on. This is a couple of my friends having a drink. He said, a lady sat next to me and she happened to be a lesbian and said, oh, you work for them? He goes, I do. She said, do you know somebody? And he was one of the previous owners who still works there. He goes, I do. He said, yeah, I'm related to him and he disowned me because I'm lesbian. Won't even talk to me. And his son is a privileged brat and I have no respect. This is that privileged one that hired me. We have to be careful because when you are a Christian, you're going to have people, S-H-I-T, talk you. The world hates God. They're in rebellion to him, so they're going to fling stuff. But when you reject somebody who's a sinner, like we all are, that says something. And I said, why do you work here? He's got his retirement from the military. He's got a nice new car, nice new Ford pickup. He's a successful black man. I respect him. He knows how to carry himself. He buckles down and works. Proof that anybody, irregardless of ethnicity, can make it in this country. He's younger than me, he's done better than me. But I found an ally. He'll come over and help me. What you got going on over here, Mike? I said, just another order. And he'll pitch in. I said, thanks for helping. You're cool, Mike. I needed something to do. He said, I don't help some of these other people because I don't respect them. And I have to look for compliments in different ways. The fact that a black man come over and help me when I didn't ask for it tells me that he values me. And he said, there are many of us, Mike, and you're one that are worth way more than they're paying us. He said, but just watch. You stay in your lane and watch. I said, how do you like your boss? He's the owner. He said, well, you know, Mike, I do what I do to survive. But he said, they really have no clue about the rest of our world. And that same owner the other day told me, yep, we're going to build offices or we're going to change up stuff. I said, really? And he almost got defensive because inside I'm thinking, we can't get a couple $1 an hour raise and there's what, 20 of us running the operations down here? And you guys are driving up in new vehicles, got upper end homes on not even in town here. And we're spending all this money on remodeling and changing things. He said, well, I want an office where I can shut the door. Because we have to walk in the office and there's 3 people in there and he doesn't like it. I have to go in and talk to my supervisor. I thought, yep, you've met him, right? When the king's in control, they want their gated community where you don't bother them unless you're called in there, and they want to insulate themselves away from the Robin Hoods. It just all makes sense. That's another way of saying you're too good for us. I understand. A lot of traffic going in and out of that office. We have no choice. And I tell you what, I thank God. I don't take it for granted, but I feel trapped. Where I live, a lot of DEI hire around here. Doesn't matter that I'm a good worker. That does not matter anymore, 2026. I went to the temp agencies here. They're not sending white people to the workplace, only blacks. I'm not being racist, I'm stating the fact. There's a concerted movement in our world to blame, crucify, demonize, alienate, and destroy Caucasianville. Our race of people has brought more good to the world than any other race out there. Technologically, ease of life, washing machines, dryers, automobiles, cell phones, everything we depend on. And we're being crucified. And I don't like living in this world. Several people in chat said, I don't like the fact the world isn't the world I grew up in. Yes, we're grieving. Somebody said you look sad. I am. Because this isn't. You know, I talk about how I grew up and I was excited to get a Tonka truck. When's the last time you seen a kid playing with a Tonka truck? Never. And then you go to the flea market and they're selling the last run of 80s Tonka trucks that had more plastic than steel, and it's rusted and dented and they want $50 for it. Man, that's not worth a quarter. Everybody thinks their trash is worth a fortune. You know how many General Lees they wrecked in the filming of Dukes of Hazzard? You know what those cars are worth today? If only people knew. And our society's been duped. They'll go buy that new car. They'll buy that new truck, and it's not a truck. I don't know what it is. A Denali, a Yukon, the Silverado. And they put more junk in there that's unnecessary. I don't use backup cameras. They're horrible for judging distance. I use my mirrors like I was taught. And if I can't see, I set my goal. Get out and look. Okay, nothing back here. Back it up. When I drive a bus, I got to do a back and turn. I swoop in, look the area, back her in, go out. Most people cannot back up anymore, even with the camera, and they hit stuff. The dumbing down of society is real. People have lost their minds. A suspect kills a kidnap victim. I saw that. One of our sales guys And I thought he was a little weird. Young guy. Most of our sales department is young guys. They were involved in college campus ministry and stuff. They left the ministry to come work at sales. And I've quizzed them. I said, why did you leave the ministry? And one guy said, well, I didn't want to do it for life. We just inherited another sales guy. And they all knew each other. They're good at what they do with sales. And I like them. They're down to earth. They're okay. But we lost a sales guy to Arizona. He dyed his hair green. I don't know what when I first started working there, I thought that guy's kind of weird. And it wasn't because of the green hair. He would never face me and say, good morning. The last day he was there, though, he shocked me. He sought me out and he said, I just wanted to say, it's been nice working with you. You're a hard worker. And I didn't expect that. Well, the guy I talked to yesterday said, you remember so-and-so? I said, yeah. And he came up because the two women that came in, his sister is part of this interior decorating team. I said, I didn't know who she was. And when they said that was her sister, I could see resemblance in the face. And he said, well, he called me. I said, he still calls you? He goes, yeah, how are you doing? He said, I didn't tell the company this, but one of the reasons I left is the way they treat you guys doing all the work. Does Christ make the difference or not? People will get on my channel and say, well, Deuteronomy 22:5, they ignore the first half of the verse and they zero in on the other. Man dressing like a woman is an abomination. No, it starts off. A woman dressed as a man, or a man dressed as a woman, it's an abomination. Yet, you got Christian employers that'll chump us on wages when the cost of living is steadily doing this. I grew up in a society where things kind of twiggled and jiggled. Now it's a steady elevation upward. Many of us are starting to fear the time could come when we're taxed out of our homes, can't afford to rent. Have you seen the rent? Here in Augusta, it's $1,200 a month, or $600 or $700. And you're surrounded by dipsticks that boom, boom, noise, crying babies, children running around till 2 a.m, banging on doors. The elites are trying to destroy us. The devil, seeking whom he may devour. And Christians are playing right into this. Christians who want to line their wallets, line their pockets, and treat us like modern-day slaves. But you bought us ice cream on a Friday. Thank you so much. Really? And you talk about what you want to do. And I almost said, is this necessary for the operation of this place? You're going to spend a ton of money. And I told the shipping clerk that. And he says, well, there went our raise. I said, bingo. They will do anything but give us a raise. And I thought yesterday, I believe in always giving an employer 2 weeks notice. If I had $1 million given to me after taxes, I would be guilty of not giving notice. I would just not even show up. They'd be like, where's Mike? They'd be calling, don't answer the phone. It sucks when you or me doesn't have the power. Is God going to bless them more because they were company owners and they were doing such a charitable thing by giving parolees and prisoners and older people a job? Is God going to reward them for that? James says, woe to you, rich one, weep and howl for the miseries that shall come upon you. These owners know gas is going up. They know utilities are going up. They know food is continually going up. I can't get out of the store spending less than $100 for groceries now. And I'm not buying steak. I'm buying box stuff. I'm buying canned stuff, bag of potatoes, frozen veggies. The world is unraveling. People think I don't appreciate. I do. The only thing that my employer is entitled from me, when I clock in, I owe them a fair day of work. That's it. I don't need to kiss ass. I don't need to schmooze and feather somebody's ball bag. And they got a lot of nerve. I come in, I'm sick. I put out 110%, no matter. And the shipping guy, after he laughed, when the boss derided me or the supervisor derided me, he come over, Mike, what you got going on? This was a different person. I said, I got this. Don't worry about it. This gives me busy work. I'm good. And inside I'm going, get the hell away from me. I'm about to blow. And I've learned something even down here. My body language and my face set as a flint. They see it. They back off. And the supervisor came up an hour later. He says, boy, I can tell you don't feel well. And I almost want to say, how's that? And he goes to somebody else. You can tell Mike feel well. He's not saying nothing over there. And then I heard him say, he said, his silence is starting to bother me. Good! Because when I get quiet, you better back it up. Because I never shut up until I'm pissed. I wish people feared me. All these clowns on the internet. I wish people had not fear like a creep. I wish I had such commanding authority that people would not approach me the way they do. No. Look at me. 152 pounds soaking wet. I'm not a threat to society, but society is closing the noose around me and all of us. And what are we doing? Voting in clowns. Every time you vote in a politician, you just gave them a raise. Once that person gets in the House and Senate, they're $175,000 a year. That's sick. How come I got to go to work? And you know, the shipping clerk started after me. And then they suddenly made his position over me. He doesn't get any wage differentiation at all. And what they're doing is they're empowering people to think that they're this and that with no pay difference. I said, what's the point? And he gave me a 4.5. He didn't want to give me a 5. My supervisor gave me a 5. And I told my supervisor, I said, so if people get a 4.5, they don't get the whole $1,000 bonus. I said, that's disgusting. A 4.5 is still an A. And that's the games that the corporate greedy money grubbers play. Well, if you want that raise, you want that bonus, $1,000. I worked in transportation. We got $1,000 in December. We got $1,000 in April by the governor. They favored everybody at the schools in Georgia. I was getting overtime, and I wanted overtime. I took a pay cut when I got vertigo and got out of the bus, and I rode for 2 years as a sped bus monitor. I took a massive pay cut, but I got so many hours in overtime that I was doing okay. And then you get those $2,000 of bonuses annually. Oh my gosh. Now I work for a Christian company and we get crumbs from the table. Here's your free ice cream. Here's your free Bojangles or Chick-fil-A. Wow. And you can't even, Mike, you have allergies. What can we get you? Unbelievable. And it just reinforces what I've learned all my life. I have no worth and no value in this world with Christians or unbelievers. And I've learned in America, the only value I have is what people place on me. Now, hold on, stay with me. If I was a pretty woman, I'd have sexual value. That's automatic. You got all these women flooding the internet making this a temple of themselves. Women can get on here. They can start doing this stuff. 175,000 hearts. All the men going, you're hot, you're beautiful, blah, blah, blah. And I look at men and I'm like, why are you building this woman's ego? She doesn't care about you. She's not going to message you. She's not going to respond. They've become self-imposed deities, goddesses. I joked. I said, even if I was to strip, who's going to pay me to strip? Women don't pay us to strip. It'd be gay people, and they might throw $5 at it. But then they'll spend $3,000 on an escort, a female. The community of people that I have on this are different. And I'm glad God showed me that. Because I get no encouragement in my job, no encouragement in my church, no encouragement living in this wretched ass town that's full of drugs and crime and violence and stupid behavior. And it's not just here. America's just becoming a cesspool of stupidity. I remember in the 80s, I could date non-Christian women and go out and have a good date. Go see a movie. Yes, I'm guilty. Make out heavily in the truck, looking over the town. This Friday, what you gonna do? The same thing I always do. Live alone, go home. You're not gonna go anywhere. Why would I go anywhere? People drive like idiots. I'm gonna go to Savannah and do what? Spend tons of money to go to dinner, walk around on the Savannah River, and what am I gonna do? I don't have any desire anymore. I really don't want to see it. And all the management just did a big old thing to Hilton Head and Myrtle Beach, and they take vacations regularly. And then they want to come back and show, look, I got to ride on dolphins down in Bahamas. And you're just going, wow, it must be nice to make all this money from the company, but we can't even get better crumbs on the table. That's awesome. I love that, how rich people doing well, want to brag about us, about all the money that they just spent on themselves. It is sickening. And you talk about professional, that is the worst thing you can do. So I've been somewhat cynical. He showed me these dolphins come up under your feet and will lift you up, and they take photographs of you for a price. So I walked in, I said, oh, so you got to ride Flipper. He sneered. He says, good one, Mike. I don't like that. I don't. And even as a Christian, I just want to shout and say, so you guys go to bed at night thinking that we're just your little slaves and we should just be indebted, indentured servants while you guys get rich and you all show up in new trucks. Poor Joe can't even keep his truck bandaged together and everybody's just struggling. I mean, that's, why is there such a caste system? Why is there this automatic assume, well, I went to college and I did this? You didn't do nothing. You got this place handed to you on a silver platter. And I can see how some black people would think that our race is privileged. Sometimes it does exist. Not me, but it does exist. But it also exists in the black community because now the pendulum has swung. They don't get in trouble. They don't get fired. They got hiring preferences that we don't have. I hate the job hunting process. It is demoralizing and dehumanizing and scandalous. Just go get a shitty paying job. You got to kiss butt. It's ridiculous. God is going to sort this all out one day. He's going to judge people, Christians or not, for how they treated their people, their employees. Something happened at our company. They got spanked for something. They lost a certain portion of business. And I've been asking them why it happened. We don't know. We haven't been given a reason. They did something wrong. I don't know what. And I thought, I wonder if God's starting to jiggle that chain and say, hey, you guys are railing in the money and you're not even sharing the wealth at all. And I don't believe in socialism or communism. But I'm going to say something about Christians in America. Are we ready to drop the shoe? A lot of Christians are comfortable with capitalism so that they can make gobs of money. And they're the same ones that go into church. I'm doing well. How's the company? It's doing very well. Wouldn't it be neat if Jesus Christ showed up, dressed in a suit and tie? Oh, you own a company, huh? How much do you pay your workers? How much was your profit margin last year? And it'd be neat. They don't know it's Jesus. So do you really believe that God's pleased with that? Well, we're paying comparable. No, you're not. I looked around at the other big factories and warehouses around here. A lot of them are paying a lot more. And you get better benefits, et cetera, but it's very hard to get on with these. I'm 60. I'm not doing rotating shifts. Start at 3 o'clock in the morning or work to midnight and then every 3 weeks they change you. By the way, the companies out here in Augusta, and I read some of the reviews online about Kimberly-Clark, Kellogg's, Starbucks. These are crappy jobs. And even they pay more. There's some jobs I could get where I could drive a forklift and just do that. Be easier on my body. But shift rotation, I can't do that. I'm 60. I wake up early. I'm not doing that point where I sleep and I got to be at work. No. And they do this. And the workplace, instead of, you got people that would work first shift. You got people that work graveyards. How come you don't put the people that want those shifts in that shift and you got to jumble everybody around? Because the workplace wants to F with you in your own personal world. And that is what is wrong. These companies make gross profits. Look what happened in Ontario, California. Kimberly-Clark. Now this guy was wrong. They had asked for a raise. Kimberly-Clark said no. The guy videotaped himself setting all the pallets of toilet paper and paper towels on fire. This place was city blocks large. That whole place went up. I think they had 175 fire trucks respond. That means everybody who worked there is now out of a job. Not to mention all the waste of all that product. There is no place in the Word of God for Christians to get revenge. Ever. And yet it underscores something. The CEO of United Healthcare was assassinated by a guy who's had enough of the bullcrap that you go through with healthcare. And did you notice that the media was decrying this? Oh, a corporate guy got shot and killed. Oh, everything's got to come to an end. They're killing us every day. Not one peep from the liberal news networks. Do you think God is going to look at things the way ABC, NBC, and CBS? Absolutely not. And we forget and we live our lives because this world is so dominating over us. We're human. And we forget. And we get distracted. As the blacks used to say, Sundays are coming. And what that means is God's going to come one day and he's going to sort it all out. And I don't care if you wear a suit and tie. I don't care if you're a multimillionaire respected with your little groupies. God's going to say, you are guilty of a whole lot of stuff. And you're going to have way less in the kingdom to show for it. He who is first shall be last. The last shall be first. There's going to be poor women and men dressed in rags in foreign countries that we don't even know. They're going to have treasure to lay before Christ. While Americans who think we're all that are going to get up there and God's going to go, really? Really? We got to remind ourselves of that, because when we go through this stuff, it's demoralizing. I was demoralized. I was trivialized. I was patronized yesterday, and I'd had enough. But you can't turn around and say, hey, supervisor, F you. I don't feel good. I come in and you're going to talk to me in front of everybody rudely? Where's your sense of professional? A-hole. I was pissed. But you got to shut your mouth. And that ain't right. This society is jacked. And I'm glad I've worked this. I really understand what it is for these people that trudge to work. These women that got to be CNAs. These women that work in the doctor's office. These people that wear the scrubs. Same thing. Same thing. You got catty, stupid, immature women playing little mind games with other chicks, impacting their job, making them not want to come to work. And dumbass management doesn't do a thing. You got places where a girl's a complete biatch, but she's hosing the boss and hosing him daily, and he looks the other way. I never thought I'd say this. The Bible talks about discrimination, and in America we fought against discrimination. And it says EOE, equal opportunity employer. That's all smoke and mirrors. Every place I've worked, including this one, has their favorites. We've all talked about one guy. He does not work hard. So minute he gets a trainee under him, he makes them do all the hard work. And then he complains about how hard he works. And I'm just looking at him going, you're 7 years younger than me. Your hair is white. He said he had chest pains the other day, thought he was going to have a heart attack. And he's been very arrogant. There's been times I couldn't stand him. And he thinks he's a hard worker. And I said to the guy I talked to yesterday, I said, that's an example right there. They said, Mike, they like him because he's a snitch on everybody. If I run a company, I don't want to snitch. I'd be telling a snitch, man, you know what? I've watched you and you don't work as hard as everybody else. Stop tattling on everybody. I don't want to hear it. Get your butt to work. And today, at the end of the day, they'll send the survey. And we're expected to fill it out. And our supervisor told us, he said, if you got to take 15 minutes to come in this break room and do it, do it. He said, I'll go to bat for you. He said, they want everybody to do it at home. He said, you're expecting them to do company business, then give them the 15 minutes to fill it out if you expect them to fill it out. Well, but that's something that should be done out. No, it isn't. But guess what I've learned? I started going in there saying things that don't do that. Do you know why management does that? It's called empowerment. It's called avoidance. They give you these silly things to fill out because then you think, ooh, I can finally say this and this and not get punished. Hold on. You're still not going to get a raise. And if you're reporting this injustice over here, management's get together. Mike, watch him. Watch him. You put a target on your back. So I learned, we're not going to discuss this. We're not. Doesn't do any good. Companies are very good at that. Make the employees think that they have a voice. Smoke and mirrors. That's all it is. And as a Christian, our lives need to be different than the world around us. I don't care what anybody says. Nobody could argue with me. I'm different than most everybody. Christians criticize me, Democrats, Republicans, conservatives, Trump supporters, Biden supporters. I get criticism from everybody. That's good, because I'm stepping on all of their toes with what I'm saying. And yet, there's a growing community that's coming here realizing, my gosh, this guy speaks more sense than anything on YouTube. Look at YouTube. Go look around. Look at these young ladies that think they're all that on a stick. Not a grown man will get on there and say, why are you wearing that on the internet? They'll do it to me. Why is a grown man criticizing my clothing? Are you gay? What does it matter what I wear? If this isn't your cup of tea, slide on by. And I'm amazed at that. But you'll never say a word to these women because you probably got your pants down and you're sitting there doing this the whole time. We know what you're doing. Everybody knows. Human nature. It's sick. And our society's drowning in the same junk. All these women getting on here, full of their narcissism, full of themselves. They have no content. They're not talking about the issues like I am. Or the few that are, it goes to their head. Tamara Neely, Maudie, the ones I recommend. I remember I used to recommend Candace Owens. I used to say, oh, I would date her in a minute. I didn't know she was married at the time. No, I wouldn't. Candace Owens loves money, loves expensive clothing, and loves attention. I used to listen to Tucker Carlson until he started blasting Israel. I thought, uh-oh. I used to listen to Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly, middle school girl trapped in an adult body. She used her shtick to criticize Jeff Bezos' fiance at the inauguration. And you know what chest envy is? Women have it. Women have it. I've learned that. And Megyn Kelly was criticizing Bezos' fiance because she was dressed scantily with a lacy bra and it was unbuttoned, and she was really very angry about that. She never said a word about John Fetterman. You know, the guy from Pennsylvania walked in basketball, sweat shorts, and a hoodie to an inauguration. I mean, times have changed. Even me, I'm 60. If I was invited to go to an inauguration, I'm not going to wear a suit and tie, but I'd have my nicest black jeans or black slacks and my nice red button-up collared shirt. I ain't going to go in there wearing this. Not the place for it. But Megyn Kelly had an axe to grind against another woman, completely unprofessional. And if you noticed, in that, Zuckerberg was giraffe necking. They showed that. He's got an Asian wife. I wonder if his Asian wife gave him hell for that. Probably was silent about it. She makes good money being married to him. I do not believe that is a marriage of love. And I never thought I'd say what I'm about to say, but it'll shock everybody that knows me from my former channel. I was in obsession with the Philippines. Turnabout is fair play. Things have come full circle. I no longer look at Filipino women. I have zero interest in them. Because as the years have gone by, I've noticed something. They're not interested in me. They were interested in me when I was in Hong Kong because they're trapped. The domestic helpers. They want to kiss and make love. And they were interested in me because I was there. I was nice. You bring them over here, that interest goes. I've watched Mouse. She's not a hottie anymore. She's overweight. She's not pretty. She's now married to a white-haired man who's younger than me, who's not Mr. Physique, who bought her new Jeep, knew this, and brought all her kids over from the Philippines. And she has gone to Europe. She even came down here to Georgia. Took a picture by the state sign. But wow, you couldn't even tell me you're here and say hi? This is the same woman that rode with me to the airport on the MTR. I love you, I'm going to miss you, was crying and the whole 9 yards. Now that she's here, I'm single, I'm available. Nope. She came over, she got involved with a disabled man in New Hampshire. Called me in Colorado, can you sponsor us? I said, no, ma'am. Why would I sponsor you? You were my girlfriend. And why would I sponsor you? You let your man do it. She got mad at that. And then suddenly she's divorced, and now with this guy, and she's gone to Europe, and she's gone all over the U.S. She has her car, and she's got... How the hell did a domestic helper in Hong Kong who had no college, nothing, her bottom line is greater than mine? What is going on in our universe? I work hard, I pay my taxes, and this girl skates through American culture on a silver freaking platter. I have no respect for Marlene. No respect for her. She's a user. She's a leech, as are most of the Filipinos that come to this country. And I get it. My Asian fever is gone. I'm cured. And people are going to get mad that I say that. I remember years ago, that's all I talked about, was how much better they were. They're opportunists. When I'm there and they're living in poverty, they're so nice to me. Bring them over here and watch what happens. They use people to get somewhere. And it took me years to wake up. And my channel, Pacific Ocean Asia, has done an about face. Even a guy came in saying, oh my gosh, you changed. Yeah, I did. And now, my channel has really shifted. The women from countries that ignored me years ago are now tuning in, because the women in my culture, and British and Irish and New Zealand and Australia, Scotland and Canada, turnabout is fair play. They're starting to see what's happening. And I'm bold enough to talk about it. And this has become a touchstone. It's become a safe place. They're ganging up. This world is ganging up on us. Look what's happening to Spain. That's not funny. Thousands of people bull rushing the border. You don't want to know what I have to say, how to deal with that. You let these people get in there, they're going to muck it up real quick. And Joe Biden, I don't care what one dumbass Democrat says to me on my channel. Joe Biden and Kamala letting these clowns come rushing across the border has caused a lot of problems in this country. And I'm sick and tired of the Democrats beating the racist drum. You're causing racism to deepen and widen by doing what you're doing. You have slapped and kicked in the balls every Mexican family that was raised in this country and did immigration properly. And that goes for everybody else. And you let these Somalians come over. Anybody know what the temperature is in Somalia? What the hell are they doing in Minneapolis where it's cold? How do you get an Ilhan Omar elected to office? That's not even rational. And these are the same people saying Democrats are educated, Republicans are not. And you got a gay woman with her lover who was guilty of child abuse and had her children taken away, driving around in a car harassing ICE. And you got a younger generation that doesn't know a damn thing saying that's terrible what the police did to her. No, little boys, you obey the law. You see them coming in and doing a bust, you get out of the area and you leave them alone. These young people will come up into my face like this. Oh, I'd like to take that finger and go, eat it, and shove it down their throat. This young generation is going to be in deep doo-doo when God comes. The disrespect, the unholy, the profane, this music that they're creating, the trash that they're desecrating our country, the attitude they have against those of us that are older, more mature and more experienced is not okay with me. These kids need to be taken over my knee and all America's knee and bam, bam, bam. Knock the foolishness out of them. That's what the Bible says. The rod to the back of fools. Now we don't discipline because it's illegal. It's funny what the Democrats call illegal. They'll call them migrants. No, they're illegals. They'll call discipline abuse. No, it's called discipline. The corrective rod. You go back 50, 60 years ago, society in America would have never allowed Cardi B's music to get off the ground. My wet ASSPUSSY, that never would have flown in the 50s, the 40s, the 30s. So I'm not talking out of my butt cheeks. This stuff is and women my age and younger love this crap. How long as a society, when we're watching what's happening in Spain, when we're watching what's happening in France and Germany and the UK and Scotland and Northern Ireland, how long is this going to go on before it explodes in our faces? These liberal thinkers, these godless fools that are voted into leadership, Satan is running loose like he's on a playground through this world. And he's treating it like monkey bars and swings and whee, and he's having a ball. And if we don't stand up collectively as Caucasian people and become a force to be reckoned with, we're going to be wiped out. I don't know how long God's going to wait before he blows that trumpet and the churches pull out. I have no idea how much longer we got to endure this. That's what bothers me. You know, if God came to me in the night and said, Michael, I'll be here in a year, just calm down. Wouldn't that just make such a huge difference if we knew? Even the owner of the company said, oh, I can't wait for the trumpet to blow. Oh, you got millions of dollars and you're doing well and you want to leave this world too. Interesting. Well, dude, I'm going to be honest with you. When you stand before God, it's going to be a little more excruciating for you than it is for me. Because this pathetic pay is not going to fly. I tell you what. I don't believe in socialism or communism, but I don't believe in greedy-ass Christians that hoard the wealth to themselves. And then they'll go and donate $20,000 to some ministry, but you won't pay your workers fair? Yeah, I got a problem with that. And watch this. At the same time, with all this delusion and falseness going on, and real Bible-believing churches are closing their doors, you got Stephen Furtick and heretics grabbing gads of money, building mansions, making their retirement accounts, and screwing the sheep of God. America hasn't learned a damn thing. At all. At all. Tell you what. This world has gone bananas. Don't worry about the clothes I'm wearing. They're just clothes. That's it. Nothing else. I would worry about these things that are happening that are destroying your marriages, your families, your children, our governments, our schools, drivers behind the wheel of cars. I mean, that guy sees me. He knows I live in the neighborhood and you're going to drive like an ass around me. There's no accountability and there's no respect. None. I go to work. There's no accountability and there's no respect. When that James, who works where I work, a gorilla of a man, 6'8", huge, was needling and harassing daily. Never once did my supervisor talk to him the way he's talked to me. He never came up and said, hey, you better stop all that. I don't know why you're harassing Mike. He's one of my best workers. And it's always been reinforced in my life. I don't matter. And it's funny, I never went and bought a bunch of weapons and decided to blow up a mall or anything. And yet, our society has created that problem too. They hate, they denigrate, they tease, they razz. All these buttholes on the internet, buttholes, that leave their dumb little comments with no face picture. You know, you're pushing people to snap. You proud of that? Oh my gosh. Did you hear what happened? Somebody went into a daycare and killed all those kids. Oh. But did you help be a solution? Or do you get on the internet and go, pew, 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 you're an idiot, you look retarded, you need help. Huh. Words. Sticks and stones may break my bones. Words also hurt. And thank God I have God. I don't want to lose my freedom over dumb stuff. But I feel like walking out. I wish a Loomis armored truck would pull up work. 2 uniformed guys get out. Yes, is Michael Nelson here? Yeah, he's right over there at the pack table. Mr. Nelson, could you come out and see us, please? Somebody has donated this truck, and it's loaded with gold bars and money. You might want to be careful. But we've got somebody picking us up. This is your truck, and this is yours. And the taxes have already been paid. I don't think I'd even stop at the damn house. I think I'd just drive right on out of town. And yeah. That would scare the crap out of me. It's sad that you can only say what you want to say after you're leaving. Our society is not free. That's a lie. You gotta watch what you say at your job to keep your job. You gotta watch what you say to these government leaders so they can strip you of everything. You gotta watch what you say around a cop when he's being an ass to you and you haven't even done anything wrong because they have the power you don't have. And I support law enforcement, but I don't support them. Then you got the police in the UK, the gay police dancing at gay pride events. Wow, that's really awesome. They arrested a woman who stood on a sidewalk across the street in the UK from an abortion clinic. She was silently praying. We're living in a society that's the biggest crime out there now. A woman quietly praying, not obstructing the streets, not yelling, not holding signs. Arrested for that. The hell? "2020 did something. We're not coming back. Even I know I have flesh. I struggle with it. God has given my mind something. I'm amazed at the dirtballs that come on my channel and say some of the things that they say. And then they actually got a channel of zero content, calling me a creep, saying you're very judgmental and what gives you the right to judge? You just call me a creep. You just judge me, lady. And let's see what this lady looks like. That's a lady? You call that a lady? I don't. That's not cute. I wouldn't date that. She look at me with a look like that, I'm like, man, let's get out. I don't want a woman who wears a baseball hat. I want a woman that's got long hair. And when I look at her face, I see joy. And I see the radiance of femininity. I don't want to look at that pointy little jaw. Now that's creepy. You want to project onto me? I didn't even do anything to you, and then you're telling me I'm deceived and my view of the Bible is wrong? No, it is not. That I will. To my die, I don't believe that my view of Scripture is off. I'm very careful to make sure that I let it speak for itself. I'm going to be judged by you? I don't think so. What are you going to get in a relationship with that? And her whole YouTube is, I've been this, oh yeah, the drama. I've been through all this stuff. Well, you come over to my channel and be a butt. This channel is for broken people. And you're going to come over here and tell me I'm not allowed to judge while you're judging me. Sounds like you're a feminist. Sounds like you don't like what I said because it convicted you and stepped on your little toes. That's not my problem. That's yours. And because you want to go vocal on my channel, I'll give you the press time. I'll put your picture and I'll put you on blast. Shoot, people are doing that to me. Now, a word to some of the men and women on my channel complaining about my moderators. One left me a message in Discord, a female, targeting out one in particular. And I sent her a screenshot of that message, that moderator, and I said, can you tell me about this? She said she was very rude. She's not telling you the story. She was criticizing the moderator, saying they're not doing their job getting rid of the trolls. And that is not true. Let me tell you guys that are complaining about my moderators a little factoid. Last year, I decided to end chat because of all the problems with it. I'm not going to get into what those were. I talked about that then. We're not going to talk about it again. And I got an outcry from one of the moderators. You know what? I need the chat because I have nobody here to talk to. And that woman has had an influence on my life. I don't know what she looks like, so there's no lust involved on my part. I have never heard her voice. I've never seen her on video. God, through my channel, has changed me. Years ago, I was very anti-white female. I said I will never marry a white woman. I was so hooked on Asia because I didn't know what I know now. I think Filipinas are beautiful. I don't trust them. And I had years to believe that they're so much better, they're so much better. I know one man who's married to a Filipina and it's been working for him and his wife. I know scads of others that it was a train wreck. There's something about our country that makes people want to come here. And when women use the hearts of us so that they can get a visa and to a better life, and then when they get here, they break our hearts, leave us, and get our house and our money, we got to wake up. Not all Filipinos are that way, but a lot more than are not are. I have been easily gullible through most of my life, and I've had to find out over the years what is what and what is not. And I find a lot of women today come on my channel because they see what I see. Truth is an interesting thing. It's stranger than fiction. I thank God that I have a job. My supervisor is going to be out today. And he left yesterday saying, I know you feel bad about calling in, but he said, I'm just going to let you know I don't, and I won't be here tomorrow. And then he looked at me and he laughed and he said, but I need you to come in. I looked at him, I said, yeah, I will, even though I shouldn't. What am I doing? How many people are like that down here or anywhere in America? Now, there's men and women that show up when they got a cold. But, and to my supervisor's credit, there are things I do like about him. He is very encouraging most of the time. Good job this week, Mike. Thank you for getting all that done. So I'll talk about the good and the bad and the ugly. I don't hate my supervisor. He's younger than me, and sometimes he just forgets, hey, that was raw. But I ain't going to turn around and say, hey, F you. That wouldn't go well in my favor. I lay out on this channel, this is a diary of a unique individual. And I chose to do something by getting on YouTube that no media person will do. I'll never be a Megyn Kelly. I'll never be a Tucker Carlson. I'll never be Benny Johnson or all these other stars out there, because this stuff doesn't go viral. Even my supervisor said, your voice, he said, your voice could be the narration for Unsolved Mysteries or for In Search of or something. And I agree with that tonight on Unsolved Mysteries. But as a Christian, the Bible says, broad is the road that leads to destruction. Many there be that travel on it. Hollywood, the media, the school system, the world, they're all on that. Life is a highway all night long. I hate that song, by the way. I hate it. I hate it because it's associated with a jerk that loved that song, and that jerk got into my grill one day. Isn't that funny? We all got triggers, huh? I smell a perfume once in a blue moon that reminds me of when I first went to Hong Kong. I'll hear a piece of music that takes me right back to the girl I had a crush on in middle school. We have scars, and we have euphoric remembrances. People say, I need my medications. I got to see my therapist. I got to do this. Michael faces all that without any of the above. And people come on here and say, you need help. You got mental issues. I do have mental issues. I don't like what's going on in this world. It's so wrong. I don't like what Christians are doing in America. It's like part of their brain has a sunspot on it and it's not working. They're all about Jesus on this one side, and then they conveniently ignore Jesus on the other. People in my church are fixated with long hair and dressing up, but then you can't even say hi. Hello! You think God is going to be impressed with your Showtime pony, dog and pony show, church attendance? Man, it's like the story about the Good Samaritan. The Pharisees, the religious leaders, the rich people, they all walked on the other side of the road, but a Samaritan, they were hated by the Jewish people. Excuse me, I gotta blow my horn. And they were hated. But a Samaritan helped the traveler that was robbed by banditos, put him up in a room. And Jesus said, who showed compassion? The ones that walked by? Going to church on Sunday in the South and being a Southern belle and spending 3 hours in the bathroom mirror is not the next thing to holiness, Southern belles. Because when you eat all that fried food and everything's covered in bread and fried transubstantiated fats, and you're this big, I don't care what you wear, it ain't pretty. And you think that you come into God that way is going to please him. And then you look down your nose at me because I'm clearly not one of you. That's really displaying the transformation that comes with being a Christian, right? And the reason people get mad at me for saying that is because most of society has gravitated towards the schlup way. I don't care what anybody at my church or anybody in management, I don't care how much money they got. It doesn't mean that they're right and closer to God than me. In fact, what I'm seeing is that the opposite is the truth. I don't think I'm God's gift to earth, or women, or church, or my job. But I'll be damned if I'm going to have my dignity stripped by some mofos that can't get their collective stuff together and looking down their nose at me. To the owner, I don't want to be like you. Your life and your world is a bubble that I don't want to be a part of. So you say you can handle two of you? I wouldn't hang out with you in my off time on any level. And once again, I get shocked and taught lessons in ways that blow my mind. There's a 28-year-old black guy with dreadlocks, skinnier than me. We were talking one day, and he works. He's learned quantum. He's learned the inventory stuff. And I've said, man, you are rocking it. And we were talking about some of the bull crap at work. And he said, if anybody came up and tried to attack you or the guy I work for, he said, I'm probably going to lose my job. I said, what do you mean? He said, because I look at you at your age and you're a hard worker. And if anybody came to attack you, I'm not going to sit there and take that. I'm going to go in and throw some fists at them. And what have I said for years? There's no black people that would ever defend me. I was wrong again. It's not Christians that are defending me. It's not white people that are defending me. It's somebody I would least expect. And what I'm learning is you have to look for your respect in the ways you wouldn't think. And the shipping clerk came up to me one day complaining about this guy. This guy is been involved, girlfriend, boyfriend, they got a baby coming. His girl is the sister of a woman that works in the office that the shipping clerk has been flirting with. Well, it blew up in his face, and he made threats at her on text. I didn't know that part. But their shipping clerk came to me whining, I told that guy something, and I said, hold it. He brought it up again the other day. I said, you went to him, and he's dating the girl that, why would you do that? Well, in my culture, Mike, when a grown man shares something with a grown man, you don't repeat it. I said, if you don't want to repeat it, then don't repeat it. But Mike, that ain't right. I said, you're wrong. That's his woman. If you were going to tell me I'm married that I can't tell my wife something, I'm going to look at you and say, what are you smoking? I said, you need to take some accountability that maybe you shouldn't have said anything. Oh, he doesn't like it that I won't side with him. I'm not going to side with you. You want an excuse to beat the poo out of somebody. That's all you know. And that young guy said, he came to me one day and he said, I told you that. And he said, I really don't want to talk about it. I talked to my wife, my girl, and I'd done nothing wrong. And he said, he tried to tell me, well, I've been in jail. And he said, bro, I've been in jail too. That don't mean you're a man. God brought me here to learn something. I've had to work with people in the prison system because you know what? Even in my way, I tend to look down on people too. And I've had to be taught. There's some people that went in the justice system and they learned a lesson. And that even they can have respect. He said, man, you 60 and you work hard. I said, I come here not to prove my macho by threatening. I prove it by my work. And he said, that one right there. He said, and I do respect you because you come here, you taught me, and you work your butt off. He said, I told him, and he said, I didn't tell him, but I knew what he was doing. And if he'd have threatened me, I would have said, okay, let's go. Let's go to that park down the street. And let's do it. I said, you're not afraid of him? He goes, no, I'm not. He said, I took martial arts. He said, I've done kickboxing. He said, that guy can't move as fast as me. He said, yeah, he looks like he's mightier, but he said, no, I'm used to the streets, Mike. And he comes over to the other guy whining to me the other day, and I just said, can I play devil's advocate? You might want to use wisdom in who you tell what to. You cannot tell a man. In my culture, I said, it don't matter your culture. You don't tell another man something about a woman that you had an interest in that's connected to the sister of his girlfriend. You're stupid. What part of this do you not understand? And if a fight breaks out, I hope he gives it to you. I didn't say that. I mean, sorry, you got a little law of the jungle going, and the other guy's smart enough to avoid that. He said, I don't want to go to jail. I learned my lesson. He said, I come here to work. I got a baby coming to support. Wow. A black man with dreadlocks that's got the right freaking stuff. And then you got a boss that buys ice cream once. It's amazing how people want to pat themselves on the back. I live in a strange opposite world. Culturally, I'm with Christians and I'm not comfortable with them. They've reeled in the money. And now they made the job evaluations harder and harder. And I said, they're just doing that so they avoid giving us a raise. It's like you create a situation where, well, you didn't quite get up to perfect 100%. Is that Christ-like? Aren't you glad that God is, you sinned, done, nothing, no provision? Can you imagine if God did that? Every one of us would be sitting in hell. By the way, just as an aside, my pastor taught me something I did not realize. Hell is thrown into the lake of fire. Did you know that? So you're not going to hell, you're going to the lake of fire. You go to hell, that's the holding place, and then you're thrown into the lake of fire. Isn't that fun? Hope you like heat. And no water, and no water slides, and no Super Soaker 2000s, and no beverages to cool your thirst. Because, like I said, eternity consists of two places, smoking and none. You talk about me challenging myself to move from middle-class white America to end up here. Most Caucasian men would not do this. What is God after for Michael? What is he after? Supposed to be transformed by the renewing of my mind. Is God preparing me to speak to all peoples? Could. I'm doing it now. Has he shown me things, the good, the bad, and ugly in every race, and allowed me to talk about it freely? Absolutely. 108 likes. You guys are awesome. Thank you. Got some good views on this today. Because I believe I speak things that need to be heard. ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, CNN, PBS, NPR, they're not going to have this kind of stuff talked about on their programs. Because they're not news channels anymore. They're propaganda machines. They're demonic. They're controlled by the prince of the power of the air. And I would say that to everybody that runs those networks. I'd say to every journalist who works for, you're working for the devil. You do not get to, you do not have freedom of speech. You will say what that teleprompter says. And if you deviate from it, you're fired. You want to talk about job discrimination? Let me, as a conservative white man Christian, get a job at ABC. They will not hire me. Job discrimination goes on in this country. What does it say? No discrimination against creed, religion, ethnicity, sex now. Oh, honey bunches of oats. Discrimination is going on in this country against your beliefs as a conservative, as a Christian. And they've added another one. You're Caucasian. You don't get the job. Remember we had a rash of plane crashes and they found out that every one of those plane crashes, how about the woman flying a military helicopter that got in the way of an incoming airplane? Nice, you made it all the way there except across the Potomac. Some ditzy girl in the military flying into the path of an oncoming airliner. That's just freaking beautiful. And they find out it was a DII or traffic controller. Oopsie. Don't like to get that cat out of the bag, do we? So now you want to favor other racists and favor illegals to pour into our country. Let me say something very loud and clear. When all the Caucasians' blood is flowed in the streets, you will have a jacked up world fast. And to the white people that are denigrating our race, that are working against our race, may God curse you big time. What are you doing? I will not apologize for being the race I am. I didn't get a choice. I will not apologize for being white, conservative. I don't even like the term white. I'm not white. That's white. And most people that they call black are not this color. I don't work with anybody this color at my job. We live in a stupid, stupid society. Most of the people I work with match a brown Crayola crayon. That's called brown. Our society likes to package things. I work in shipping. I have to pack stuff. But people pack people. They do it all day long. Oh, it puts the lotion on the skin. They trivialize my voice. They trivialize me, and they put that little thing to say it's hurtful and it's wrong. Somebody took their like back. We had 112 likes. Somebody took their like back. How do you take a like back? See, that's my channel. Am I trying to get views? If I was trying to get views, this is not the way to do it. You don't talk about these things. You want to move up the ladder in life? Don't rock the boat. Suck up, kiss up, fluff somebody's balls, kiss their butt cheeks, do what you got to do. God didn't tell me to do that. Man, my nose is Lord of the universe this week. All right, nose, let me know. This is going to go away and you're not going to be on the throne anymore. But guess what? My nose is an analogy of us. We're like the toddler too. God says, I'm on the throne. You get around a lot of Christians and they forget that. We got a certain lateral movement that it gives us and we misuse it. Somebody took their light back again. Unbelievable. It went to 112 and then went to 111. Sheesh. Thank you for listening. It's Friday. If nothing else happens today, it's Friday. We need to pray for the world, folks. We need to pray for Spain. We need to pray for leaders. We need to pray for men and women to stand on the truth. We need to pray for these fires ravaging Europe and Canada, that God would bring much needed rains. But we also need to pray for us as Christians. Are we remembering whose we are? Whose we are? Who do we belong to? Are we afraid to witness? Are we afraid to tell the truth? You better stop that. Because the evil's not afraid to run right over you like a freight train. Stop letting it. You may not be able to control. We cannot control what's going on. But if you muzzle and you're afraid because you want to live your safe Hallmark life, you're going to get sorely disappointed. God is going to start bringing people out of their comfort zone. God did not call us to be comfortable. You are the salt of the earth. Do you know what that means? Do you know what salt does? Throw it in your eyes and see how that feels. Too much salt will kill you. I've read stories of men that shipwrecked, got off in a lifeboat or inner tube and are floating around for 3 months out in the middle of the ocean before they got rescued. And the fastest way to die on the ocean is to start drinking that seawater because you're thirsty. The saline content in that is awful. Your brain starts screwing up. You see things, you go crazy. Can you imagine sitting on all that water and you're thirsty? But to drink it is your death. That's what the world's doing. The world is floating. They're being held up by a satanic mat. And they think they're on an inner tube going down the river. Whee! Just because you're not a Christian doesn't mean Satan doesn't want to devour you. He's already got you. He's laughing at you. She's rejecting Jesus. That's awesome. Satan has no interest in you or me. He wants to get at God. And he uses people to do it. Ha ha, God. I killed one more soul today. They wrapped their car around a tree so they'll never choose you. Satan is a wicked, nasty, evil. Hollywood is an illusion. The whole world out there is an illusion. Look at our news. Going on and on about celebs. Who cares? They don't have scented poop. What? Who cares? They can dribble a ball. Wow, neat. Can you remodel a house? Can you care for somebody? Do you love God? No. See, the world gives evaluations. Our bosses give evaluations, but guess what? God's going to give every one of us individual evaluations, not motivated by favoritism, sexual exchange, nothing. See, when God evaluates us, it's going to be pinpoint accurate. Society evaluates us based on their fallen state. I told the old man who was the second owner of the company. He said, "You're one of the only ones I see that works up to bell time." I said, "Well, sir, I believe as a Christian, I need to give my employer what they're paying me for." And I said, "I have to trust God that he'll reward me." That old man turned around and he said, "That's the most accurate view I've heard come out of anybody's mouth to date." But he's part of the problem. When he owned the company, my supervisor got hired at $10 an hour 6 years ago. $10. Who can make it on $10 an hour? And you're expected to do this. Why is it that the working class people, they want us to work full time, don't miss a beat, don't call in late, and you can't even pay people enough to pay their rent? Do you think God's going to be impressed, especially when you're Christians and you cleared $13 to $16 million last year? If God could laugh, and I'm sure he did. People suck. We need a new song. Forget Jim Morrison. People are strange. When you're feeling bad, but you go to work anyway, your boss still sucks. Your supervisor sucks. Your coworkers suck. Can I tell you something? If I was a boss and I was an owner, I'd say, "I know you don't feel well. I hope you get better soon. Thank you for coming in. That made my day easier." How come we don't get that no more? You got to make rude comments. You got to demean somebody. And then you accuse me. I didn't write that weight on there. The salesman did. And if you notice, the writing is very different. Instead of saying, "You're right, I'm sorry." Americans can't say "I'm sorry" at all. You're the big boss. You're the owner. You can do whatever the hell you want. Not by him. Only up here. There goes for me, and there goes for everybody listening. We cannot do whatever. We can do whatever we want, but we can't. We're going to be held accountable for all of it. You ready for that? It's my body. I'll do what I want. You go ahead and pull that little attitude with God, sweetie lips. You go up there and tell God, "It's my body, my choice." Tell him that. Wait till you stand in his presence, you won't be able to say a word. When God's glory showed up to Isaiah, the reaction was swift. "Depart from me, God. I'm a man of unclean lips and dwell among an unclean people." Isaiah saw right away his inadequacy. And you look at Americans, they act like they're not inadequate. "I'm doing well." You say that to God, bro. Go up there in your suit and tie. "I'm doing well." No, you will not say that to God. I promise you. Or your money back. God is so holy and perfect, it's excruciating. We'd all be damned to eternity lost if it wasn't for his grace. That he sent his son to die and people trample that, make fun of it. Oh, the Bible's a bunch of hippie trash. Excuse me. This was written before the hippies. Try again. Try again. There's a French atheist years ago, very wealthy. He made a statement. The Bible will be totally out of print by a certain amount of time. Well, he died and he passed away. And guess what? His house was used as a Bible printing facility. God is so awesome. He knows how to be satire. You think you're a smart aleck? God's got you right now. God can dance on your grave and party on it. Watch yourself. Stop being arrogant to God. God will and always has the last word. And he has the last word over my bosses, the owners. He has the last word over the idiot neighbor that couldn't even respect me and let me go. God wins. Justice delayed is not justice denied. That's the problem we have. We want God to get them in time. Why do the wicked prosper? Look at the nations. Because of their lack of balls and lack of leadership, thousands of people rushing into Spain. Ooh. When anybody's running out of a country, they're probably the ones you don't want running into yours. Good rule of thumb. I always chuckle about Mexico. People want to defend Mexico and wave their flag, the Mexican flag over here. Well, if your country's so good, why'd you leave it? That doesn't make sense to me. Nor should it. Why don't you go back there and fix it? Why don't you get leadership in there that makes people not want to leave it? They wouldn't like me as president because I'd put ideas on the table that would make people's heads roll. So I tell you what, I'm getting tired of all these people coming south of the border. Maybe we need to declare war on Mexico and topple their government and say, you know what? You're not solving the problems. Why aren't you getting rid of these drug kingpins? We can do it. And we'll install a government that straightens this place out so that people won't want to leave. You know, people get mad when Trump said, make America great again. Why don't you make Mexico great again? Why don't you make Somalia great again? Why don't you make Iran and all these other countries people want to flee from great? Or shut your mouth. Tell me I'm speaking a lie. Tell me I'm wrong. You can't and you know it. This world is jacked up. I'm glad I lived in the Black South. And I say the Black South because it's 53%. I'm glad I've experienced this. It's been hard. But guess what? I'm learning to relate to people that I didn't normally learn to relate to. I'm learning how to have conversations and understanding. When people live in a plastic bubble, when these owners and the managers with their wives and their kids come, I'm like, my gosh, raised in a Christian home and Christian environment, are these people ready to deal with the reality of the world? No, they're not. Too many Christians are insular and live in a materialistic Hallmark bubble. Let's pray. God, we thank you for this food, and I thank you for the workers here. Bless this food to our bodies. In Jesus' name, amen. I want to put on a dress, walk into that room. Lord, I thank you for my employment here, that you gave me a job to meet my bills. But I pray that you would convict management to pay us fair wages for the work that we're expected to do, for the tasks we're expected to perform. Pray that you convict the leadership that while they got new pickups and new homes and got babies and go on vacations all the time and let us know about all that, that you would help them to be fair and equitable and bless, that true Christian leadership blesses and brings us up instead of keeps us down. Amen. Now let's eat. That'd be like me taking fresh dog poop and throwing it in the salad bar. Not good, but it needs to be done. Stop talking about you want to magnify God and you ignore that. People criticize me for wearing this. I mean, they love to go on and on about that. I talked about we're not supposed to swear. I should have used the word oath because leave it. You always got that one woman out there, the ones that say you can't even type right. Oh, we got a pew pew warrior that wants to criticize punctuation and grammar. Oh, you're just so much smarter than everybody. You just pew 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 pew. I don't. Swearing is wrong, but an oath is not. Okay, some Bible translations say do not make an oath. It still says let your yes be yes. You don't swear. I promise. Wedding vows. That needs to go away. Because we're lying every time we get up there, in sickness and in health. How many people look at a beautiful woman and picture her in a damn wheelchair while they're at the altar? Nobody. Stop lying. You lusting little pig. I do. Until you wake up and her breath stinks. You love him until he got in a car crash and he's disabled. Now you're cheating quietly on the side. We got to stop all that. We got to get real. Can I look at a woman who's beautiful and say, do you promise in sickness and health? Do we unpack that? Right now, I'm single. I'm free. Sucks if something happens to me because there's nobody to take care of me. Except, wait a minute, I'm wrong. I just lied. God. And until you as a woman and you as a man really realize, really grasp that we haven't learned to get closer to him until we can say, I'm alone, but my God has got me. People don't put themselves in that situation. You got people got all their friends, all their support group. Are you closer to God because of all that? Not necessarily. And I've learned to meet other women on here, New Zealand, Northern Ireland, England. They're alone against the world. And they're warriors in their spirits. I'm going to shout out Colette, Planet G, Tans. But then there's the American women. Lots. My channel has changed. My focus has changed. The people coming to my channel has changed. That's awesome because God doesn't change, but we need to grow and we need to have outreach and we need to have community, and it's happening. And people are coming here because they're going, I can be entertained. I can swipe. I've done it. Oh, that was a stupid video. Show some girl stuffing all this food in her mouth, spilling down her chin. I don't want to watch that. Somebody showed an India girl sitting there eating her food. And it got like 100. I said, what's... She's just eating her food. And 100,000 likes. And I said, wow, why? And it's gone up even since then. I'm like, maybe I should do a video. I wonder how many likes I'll get if I poop on a toilet. You think that'd go viral? Maybe I could stand there and take a whiz in the toilet. Stupid. How about the guy that ran headlong into a cactus patch and then screamed and cussed and yelled? What, did you think that wasn't going to hurt? Or the guy that put pinwheels on himself. They were fireworks. You light them and they spin. That went bad. Somebody left a stupid comment. The need to get attention is like a drug. I'm dancing on a video. Did you say that to all the women? No, you didn't. Because we know what you're doing, you wanker. Men are not as tough as they claim. They like to intimidate, threaten. But it doesn't mean they're tough. I could threaten too. It doesn't mean I'm a man, doesn't mean I'm tough. It means you're an idiot. The criticism I get for just dancing and having fun is just so unwarranted and stupid. But then you'll look at women all day. Oh my gosh, she's hot. She has no content. She sounds like an airhead and she's sitting there showing her tots. Really, dude? And then you as a grown man are going to come over to my channel and think you're a man and make some rude remark. How noble of you. Clowns. Somebody made a comment. Yeah, Mike came to work and everybody will get sick. Good. I hope the ones that are not being real right to me do get sick. That'd be awesome. Mike, you're not supposed to curse. Well, we're not, but I'm human. You don't pay me enough to take off 2 weeks, which is what a cold runs. What do you expect? Yesterday was crappy, and I had to bite my tongue several times. But when I finally got quiet, it scared my supervisor. And I heard him say to somebody, he said, look at Mike, he doesn't feel good and he's just powering through it. That's who I am. I mean, I like it, but I'll power through it. I'll upshift, downshift. I'll do what I can to get up that mountain. But yesterday I took that truck and I slid on the gravel and done. I like that image. I miss my Deuce. I wish I could live in a world where I could drive a Deuce all the time. I wish I could have that Indiana Jones life. But now I got to go to the salt mines every day and put up with putzes. God's not making it comfortable for us here. And as you see the world exploding, look up, Christian. Your redemption is near. To all the women that said slurping snot, here you go. Y'all have a good day. It's Friday. Be safe.